Deep under the Atlantic, far below the reach of sunlight, lies a world that time has refused to erase. A world once filled with wealth, elegance, comfort, and laughter. A world built for the elite, polished for royalty and designed to be unforgettable. It is the lost B-Deck, the exclusive corridor of first-class suites, private staterooms, luxury salons, and hidden compartments. And after 112 years, it is revealing its secrets. The camera enters through a fractured doorway. Immediately, the lavishness once reserved for the wealthiest passengers becomes clear, even in decay. Gold-trimmed wall panels, now warped and mineralized, line the corridor like the ribs of an ancient creature. Rusticles drip from the ceiling in long tendrils. Silt blankets the floor in soft dunes, and at the center of it all lies the first haunting discovery. A skeleton resting calmly against a wall, legs extended, arms resting gently at its sides. Coral has claimed the ribs, forming delicate lace-like patterns across the chest. Just beyond it, the doorway to a once grand suite stands open. Inside, mineralized furniture sits frozen in time. A dresser with its drawers long dissolved remains as a steel frame filled with coral nests. A vanity mirror, shattered by pressure, clings to its rusted frame. On the floor, the shape of a pair of luxury shoes lies hardened into fossil-like shells, their heels and buckles still recognizable despite the century of corrosion. When the camera moves deeper inside, a breathtaking sight emerges. A first-class wardrobe stands against the far wall, its door warped but intact. The interior glows faintly in the deep sea haze. Mineralized gowns hang in ghostly formation, their folds and shapes perfectly preserved by time. What were once sateen, silk, and tailored wool are now coral-coated sculptures, each one frozen mid-flow, like underwater statues. Beside the wardrobe sits a skeleton in a calm, seated position. Its spine rests gently against the frame, legs folded naturally, hands settled on its lap. Around it lie small personal objects, a hardened purse frame, delicate brooch shapes, and traces of jewelry fused to the silt. Every item has become a relic, transformed, not erased. Crossing through the suite, the camera reveals a fallen bookcase. The contents are long gone, but metal edging, decorative braces, and mineralized shelf supports remain. A set of ornate drawer handles sits fused in a coral cluster nearby, their gold plating eaten through but still shimmering faintly in the camera's dim glow. Stepping back into the hallway, another first-class door has collapsed inward, revealing a private music room. A grand piano once sat in the corner. Now only its iron frame remains, warped but intact. Coral blooms from the keyboard area like frozen waves. A skeleton sits beneath the frame, head tilted gently downward, as though the person once sought shelter beneath the powerful structure. The camera glides across the hall into another suite. This one contains one of the most astonishing finds on the entire deck, a mineralized jewelry box. The lid is fused open, and inside, jewelry pieces form a single solid coral cluster. Gemstone outlines remain perfectly visible, rings fused into bracelets, brooches melted into chains, necklaces embedded in rust. Tiny mineral crystals sparkle across the surfaces like frost. A skeleton lies on the bed frame nearby. The mattress is long dissolved, leaving only the metal coils, now coral encrusted. The bones rest atop the frame in a peaceful, reclining position. Legs straight, arms resting where blankets once lay. Deeper into B-Deck, the architecture becomes more elaborate. Curved archways lead into a long saloon once filled with the wealthiest travelers. Now its decorative molding has blossomed into coral curtains. The ceiling murals, once brightly painted, have dissolved into ghostly stains. Mineralized chandeliers hang like skeletal branches. At the center of the room sits a dining table, or rather, the mineralized impression of one. Its edges are thick with rust. Atop it rests a cluster of hardened cutlery, forks and knives fused together in coral and iron. Underneath the table lies a skeleton sitting upright, legs crossed loosely, leaning against a fallen chair frame. Near the saloon's far wall, a private liquor cabinet, once filled with rare spirits, stands with its steel cage door open. Inside the shelves hold mineralized impressions of bottles, preserved only as stone outlines. Coral rings form around each space where glass once rested. Below the cabinet, a skeleton lies curled in a calm position, hand resting atop a metal footrail. B-Deck's hidden compartments begin to emerge as the camera drifts deeper. Behind a collapsed wall panel is a secret storage space containing luxury luggage frames, metal skeletons of once expensive trunks. One trunk remains partially intact. When viewed closely, the mineralized shapes of folded garments appear inside. Not fabric, but coral impressions of jackets, gowns, and accessories, each detail preserved through pressure and time. Nearby, a skeleton lies, leaning naturally against the luggage frame, ribs wrapped in delicate coral growth. Its skull tilts toward the trunk, as if guarding its owner's belongings even in death. Entering the next stateroom, the camera reveals a chaise lounge frame, richly curved, now coated in centuries of rust and marine life. A skeleton reclines across it, one arm draped elegantly over the side. The pose looks almost artistic, a haunting reminder of the luxury this space once held. Across the room, a small table holds one of the most stunning discoveries, a hardened, compact case. The outer shell is fused shut, coated in mineral layers, but the shape is unmistakable. Beside it lies the coral-coated outline of a hairbrush frame, its metal bristles intact. These belongings paint a human portrait without using a single unpreserved material. Further down the corridor, the camera enters a private dressing room. A mirror frame hangs crooked on the wall, its reflective surface long dissolved. A skeleton sits in front of the dresser, legs folded beneath the mineralized stool frame. The vanities drawers are filled with coral structures where cosmetics once were. The outlines remain clear, but the substances are long consumed by the sea. Moving into another extravagant suite, the camera reveals the massive steel frame of a wardrobe. Inside hang several mineralized shirts and suit jackets. Their collars, lapels, and button shapes remain perfectly preserved thanks to calcification. Beneath them lies a pair of mineralized men's shoes, lace holes visible, metal eyelets coated in coral. A skeleton stands leaning against the wardrobe wall, posture natural, head lowered. One hand rests atop the mineralized shoe pair. Coral traces run along its spine, ribs and femur like fragile roots. Back in the hallway, the camera reaches a staircase leading to the staterooms above. The banister is warped and eaten away, but the structure remains. Rusticles drip from the railing in long strands. At the foot of the steps lies a skeleton curled gently against the first step, the pose soft and undisturbed. Descending further, the camera reaches the servants' passage behind the suites. Here, personal belongings appear unexpectedly. A mineralized hairpin cluster fused to the wall, a coral-covered hand mirror frame, Hardened shapes where makeup containers once sat on shelves. A skeleton rests against a narrow service door, legs folded, skull leaning peacefully against the rusted metal. The corridor beyond leads to one of the most astonishing chambers on B-Deck, the private luggage suite for elite travelers. Inside, the luggage frames are stacked neatly, preserved by collapse and pressure. Hardened shapes of hats, shoes, and garments fill the open frames. The outlines of expensive coats, evening gowns, and travel accessories sit frozen in perfect detail. A skeleton rests slumped against a stack of mineralized suit frames, arms relaxed. The pose is natural, quiet, eternal. Moving deeper, the camera enters a private social room. A mineralized fireplace frame still stands against the wall, coral climbing up its surface. The metal grate beneath it holds coral clusters shaped like flame patterns. Beside the fireplace lies a skeleton sitting upright, back gently against the curved metal structure. On the opposite wall sits a mineralized wardrobe containing breathtaking items. Outlines of dresses, suit jackets, and children's clothing turned into coral sculptures. Jewel shapes glint faintly on the shelf beneath. Rings, bracelet curves, and brooch pins fused together by rust. The camera drifts into the bathroom suite. The sink basin, now coral-filled, holds mineralized soap dishes. The bathtub frame is rusted and half-collapsed. Inside, a skeleton lies curled, posture peaceful, arms resting in front of the torso. Coral blooms along the ribs and skull. Across the corridor lies another first-class suite, one of the grandest on the deck. The furniture frames are ornate, curved, and heavily decorated in rust-covered filigree. A mineralized hat sits on a dresser frame, surrounded by hardened jewelry pieces. A skeleton reclines against the bed frame, legs crossed, skull tilted upward. In the far corner, a shattered safe sits partially open. Inside, coral clusters hold the shapes of small valuables, metal lockets fused together, ring shapes embedded in silt, pieces of gold-plated trim. Everything is preserved as mineral sculpture, nature's own cast of forgotten wealth. Finally, the camera enters the most exclusive area of the entire deck, the private lounge of a first-class suite cluster. Here, a mineralized table still stands, its decorative legs fused to the floor. Around it, several skeletons sit in natural, undisturbed positions, as if time stopped mid-conversation. Coral has grown across their ribs and arms. Silt rests gently in their lap areas. On the table lies the most astonishing find of all, a coral-fused mass of jewelry and accessories. Rings, necklace outlines, brooches, hair combs, cufflinks, and belt buckles have merged into a single, breathtaking formation. Mineral crystals sparkle like frozen stars across the surface. The room is silent, still, haunting, magnificent. The B-Deck was meant to be the pinnacle of luxury, a world of wealth and ease. And yet here, frozen beneath miles of ocean, it has become a monument to something else entirely. Fragility, humanity, and the unstoppable force of time. But what remains is more than tragedy. It is memory. It is history transformed into sculpture. It is a window into a world once filled with life, now held in place by the deep ocean's eternal embrace. 112 years later, B-Deck is no longer lost. It is revealed, and its story, preserved in rust, coral, and silence, is more breathtaking than anyone ever imagined.